Okay, so basically we're going to start with revision of transformations. So remember, transformations are basically when you are taking something or a shape and you are transforming that shape. Now, when you're transforming that shape, you can transform it into 3 different ways. So hopefully you can give me the 3 different ways. Okay, the first one is translation. Okay, so it's close to transformation, so it's a bit easier to remember. So it's called translation. So that is when we're actually just moving the shape. Or if you're sliding it. So if you're moving it down, if you slide it to the side, all those kinds of things. Then the second one that we've got is the reflection. So we've got reflection. Remember, that is basically when you have a mirror image. So whenever you look in the mirror, you've got a reflection, right? So it's the same thing. So it's a mirror image, or if you are flipping something. Okay, so it's like inside out. Basically what happens in reflection, you've got 2 different types of ones. You've got vertical and horizontal. So you've got vertical. That's when you're flipping the shape vertically. So you're flipping it on the horizontal axis. Okay, so you're taking this shape and you're flipping it there. And the horizontal reflection is when you're reflecting it, the shape is there and you're moving it to the side. So it's basically like if I take my phone, so I'm taking my phone and then I just flip it that way. Okay, do you see that this didn't move? So this front part here moves to there, just basically stays in the same position, and the end part has moved. Okay, so that's when you are doing reflections. Also the same thing here, if you can see, there's a reflection of the light. So those lights are busy beaming down, so that's actually a reflection of that. Just a little inside tip. Okay, so one thing that I need you to know, especially if you didn't yet, this line that goes this way is called the x-axis. And the horizontal, not the horizontal, and the line that goes down is called the y-axis. Okay, it's going to come into play just now, so I hope that you just pay attention to that for me. Right, and the last one that we have is rotation. So rotation is basically when we take the shape and we turn it around a point. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look in our books on page 267. Okay, so we've got exercise 1, and it says, look at the transformations below and say whether they are transformations below. So say whether they are translations, reflections, or rotations, or a combination of these. Okay, so it could be a combination of like reflection and rotation and whatever. Okay, so what's going to happen now is we're actually going to do this exercise together. Right, so for exercise 1, it is on page 267, and it says to us for number 1 that my blocks are here, and then all of a sudden they're over there. Do you see that the blocks are exactly the same? Okay, it's the same with this one. The blocks are going to be exactly the same because we're not making it bigger or smaller. That's something else. Okay, so we've taken this and we've actually moved it here somewhere. So if I want to, which please don't do in your book, I'm only allowed to do this. I'm going to take my pencil quickly and I'm going to see, okay, it was there. So I'm doing those 2 blocks there. See, there's a block in between and there's a block at the bottom. and then I'm going up 1, 2, 3. So that's where it ends. Okay, so that's where the block is now. So what happened to this block? So basically it shifted. If you want, you can take this top part here. So choose a place to start with. Okay, so you can either start with the top or with the bottom, or the left or the right. But what I would suggest is I'm going to start by the bottom block. Okay, so I'm going to first see where the block moved to. So it's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it moved 5 blocks to the right, and then it had to move down 1, 2 blocks. So 2 blocks down. So what would that be called? Translation. Perfect. So it's actually called a translation because it is moving. But we don't actually know if it was reflected or rotated or anything else, but in the meantime I would just say that it is a translation. Okay, so for number 2, we've taken this shape, right, and it almost looks like it just went that way, so it just popped over. So I would then say that it is a reflection, alright, because it reflected that way. So it basically turned out to be here. Somewhere there. So that's what my shape kind of looks like now. Okay. And what happened was, if you see, there's a block in between both of them. So if you've got a block here that you left open, and there's a block there, then this would be the vertical line that goes down. So what would you say this is? I want you to say specifically what type of reflection this is. Is this a vertical or is it a horizontal reflection? I hope it said horizontal, because what happens is it moved horizontally, but it's got a line of symmetry, or a line that goes between it, alright, that is horizontal. I mean, that is vertical. It's the y-axis. Okay, so this one, let me just write the answers quickly. So for number 1, we realized that that is a translation. Number 2 is a rotation. Oh, not rotation, a reflection. Okay, it's a reflection, but it is a horizontal reflection. Okay, or what you can even say, which you will learn it more in high school, but it is actually called a reflection in the y-axis. Okay, but I don't need you guys to know that. It's just for you guys to understand where it will come from later on. Alright, so then we go to number 3. Okie dokie. So now this one is a bit confusing. So if you look, it went all the way down there. But what happened first? So if we just moved it, it would have still stayed the same shape, you see? So it would have just stayed that way. But what happened to it? It kind of did something. It went that way, didn't it? As far as I would say that it is a rotation, because it's not reflecting, because if you reflect it this way, your part over there is going to be on top, and if you reflect it this way, it's also going to be at the bottom, so it's not really going to match. So what I would say is that they actually took this point here, and they took a point and then they turned it around. Okay, so they took the whole shape and then they turned it. So basically, if I have to draw it quickly, which would be kind of difficult, I'm not so sure yet, but if you take it and you flip it, it would become, that's over here somewhere. So it was here. Okay, that's where it starts. And it touches. Okay, so it will be here. 1, 2, 3, and then the block, and then that way, and then that way. So it will look like that. Okay, so that's my block. So then what happened is that block then shifted, it moved. So that's my rotation element. So I rotated it around. So it's in the same blocks, but it's just, see, it's in the same blocks here, but it's just moved that way. And then we just now sliding it over. So we slide it from this corner here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it went 4 to the right, and then it went 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Okay, so that is how we moved it. So for this one, it's a bit special. It is a rotation first, and it is a translation. Okay, number 4. Alright, this one looks like it just moved. And in any case, if it was a reflection or a rotation, you wouldn't really know. So I would just say that this is a translation because you just moved it. I will just double check. Yeah, it is a translation. Okay. And then number 5, it is, yeah, it looks like it just went boop that way, turned. So, or flipped, sorry. So basically, I would then say that that is a reflection. But a reflection, I hope you said vertical. Okay, vertical. So x-axis, because the x-axis is going this way. So it's like you're flipping it in x-axis. Okay. I just noticed that my nails on the one side is long. Anyway, moving on. Okay. So then the next one that we're going to do for today is when you are translating a shape. So when you actually, now you're not identifying anymore, you're now going to actually do it. So, exercise 2. Look at the shapes A to D below and perform the transformations in the questions that follow. Draw your answers on 8x8 squared paper. Okay, so what I've got for you is it's not there, it's this page. So basically it is a full page, and I want you to do it in 8x8 squares. So you're going to count 8 squares out, so 8 squares that way and 8 squares down, and then you make that your block. Okay, so I'll do the first one with you. It says, number 1, translate A down and 3 squares to the right. Okay, so we're going to take this little shape here, A, and we're going to move it 2 squares down and 3 squares to the right. So you need to pick a point where you want to kind of like focus on. And I suggest you focus on either the end points there or the end points there. To be honest, if I were you, I would focus on end points here. Okay, so let's just make sure that we've got 8x8 squares. So I'm going to quickly count. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's my 8th one now. So, okay, there's my 8th. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 there. So that's my 8x8 block. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw use my ruler, make it into an actual block so that I know. That this is where it must end. It is a line where you go no further, or you shall die. I'm kidding. Okay, so you're translating A. So this I would say is block. So it's answering number 1. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to draw the original shape, so that you can see what actually happened. Okay, so I'm going to draw the original shape, which I will try and show you at the same time. Okay, So if we want to draw this shape, do you see there's one block on top and then it's just colored in square? It's literally like following the dots almost. So you color in. There's my block there. It's kind of like a coloring in puzzle almost. Okay, so then I see that there's 4 blocks that go down, 4 that go down, and then there's one that goes to the side. And you can always color it in later, but I just feel like doing it now because I want to waste time, like most of you do. Okay, I'm kidding. And then you see that there's an open block there, and then there's one up. So you just do the same thing. Open block, one up. There we go. Shorted. Okay. And there's my shape. Okay, I suggest when you do this, especially when you're starting out, actually all the time, do it in pencil, so that you can always erase if you do it too badly, and don't press too hard. Please don't press too hard, because as soon as you do that, you can't erase it properly, and if you're pressing too softly, then you might not actually see what you've drawn. Okay, so what they said to us is that we now need to move it 2 squares down. So I'm going to focus on this square, this little one here. So it says 2 down, so I'm just going to hop 1, 2, so my square is going to start here. Okay, and then it says 3 squares to the left, so 1, 2, 3. So it's going to start here. So I'm then going to take my pencil and do a block here. So that is that block. So that's that block. That's that block. And then I go up for my 4. Okay. And I do my block here. My block. There we go. Okay, so just because I want to be cool, I'm kidding. I'm just going to use a different color so that I know what the difference is. Okay, so that is my new and improved version of the maths textbook question. Okay, so that is what I need to see from you. Please color it in properly for me. I'm just doing it quickly because I have to do maybe a bit more. So I want to do one of each for you. So it says I'll do 1, 2, and 3. So basically for number 2, you can either do it next to it or underneath it. I'm going to do it underneath it because I feel like being different. So number 2, I'm going to leave a space in between. And I'm then going to count up my 8 blocks. Luckily, with this one, I already know that 8 starts. And then I just need to count up my 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. There's my 8 blocks. Ta-da! Okay, there's my 8 blocks. Now, they say to me, okay, now I must rotate C. So I need to find the shape C, which is there. And I need to then turn it to the right. So I need to do a quarter turn to the right. It sounds a bit confusing. Okay, so a quarter turn is like a 90 degrees. So that basically means that I'm now going to take my shape. So I'm actually going to draw it. basically that is my shape. And then we now need to turn it a quarter to the right. So we basically just need to go just a little bit that way. So it's almost like taking my shape and doing that. So it's not going to stand up almost. Okay, so what's going to happen now is you kind of choose a point where you want to kind of have your center of your shape. So I'm going to take it and I'm kind of just going to move it that way. So let's take my pen. Okay, so remember it's still 2 spaces there. I'm actually going to put this as my bottom. I'm making that because that is the bottom, right? That can touch my bottom there. And then, so if that's the bottom, this is this part here. This part there. So that means that this part here, that 5, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, please don't freehand it like I am doing. I would suggest you actually use a ruler. I haven't been using one now, so I'm sorry. But I suggest you start using a ruler from now onwards. So I'll do it with the next question. I was just scared that my thing was gonna like die. Anyways, okay. So then I'm going down, and you see that it's got this kind of like square block there. That's that one here. Okay, and then so that's there, and then it goes up again. But it's got 2 lines, so it's gonna go. Remember it's 3 blocks, and there's my shape. So here is my new shape. Ta-da! Okay, so I've basically just rotated it a quarter turn. If it was a half a turn, it would just be facing the other way. Okay, if it was a full turn, it would obviously be exactly the same. If it's a 3/4 turn, this part here will actually be over there. Okay, it will be on top, and I will do number 3 quickly, and then 4, 5, and 6 is up to you. And I will ask you to, if you are watching from home, I suggest that you pause the video and then look at the answers, because it is not fair for yourself if you are cheating. That is enough for my lecture now. I can't find my ruler. That's funny. Anyways, maybe I put it underneath something. Alright, so for number 3, it says that we must reflect D vertically. So they're giving you different shapes every time, so that's what could get confusing. But luckily it shouldn't be too bad. So for D, they're giving you that weird shape, and they want you to reflect it vertically. So your whole shape, you're now just flipping that way. Okay, so you're flipping at the bottom. Alrighty. So, nope, can't find my ruler. Where's my ruler? Oh well, if I can't find it, then I'll just have to do it freehand. Or I shall make a plan. Maybe I should make a plan. That's a good idea. Okay, so I'm just going to make a plan. I'm going to take my phone. This is a bad idea. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we we go, 8, and there's my block, and there's my block again. Okay, cool. That's my makeshift block. So I'm going to quickly draw what they've given me first. So they seem to have given me, I'm going to start in the one corner here, so it's 2 down, 2, and then it's got 2 blocks, so it's going to be here. So those are the 2 blocks. Okay, then it's got 3 to the side, so there's 3. It's got 2 blocks open, and then it's got 1 block, and 3 up, and 3 to the side. Yeah, no, 4 to the side, 4 to the side, 4 to the side, and 2 above. Okay, so it actually doesn't look too bad when you actually finish drawing it. This is actually pretty fun, not gonna lie. Okay, so there's your shape. So now what they want you to do is reflect it vertically. So what I want you to do is, this is where you need to remember that if you are reflecting it vertically, what is the line that you need to have in between? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to leave a block in between. Or should I? Nah, let's not do that. Okay, so if you see here, there's a space on the top, right? So let's do the same thing here. Let's make sure that that's, say I'm doing it in line with that. We basically need to make sure that this top part here is over there, and that top part there is over here. Okay, and then we're going down. So we go down 2. Here's the third one, and then the 2, and then that, and then that. It's kind of scary at some point. Ah! Oh, I did it right. Okay, never mind. I thought I did it wrong. Okay, so then that's that, and then you're basically connecting those 2 together. They're like touching, and then you've got that block there. Okay, so what is the line called that is separating them? Line of symmetry is what's separating them. Okay, but the line that goes horizontally, that I told you should remember the name of, is called the x-axis. So what I want you to do is, when you are reflecting it, hopefully before you start drawing it, I would like you to at least put it in here for me, to say that you know that this is called your x-axis. Okay, so that means that it flips that way. Okay, top to bottom, or bottom to top. Alright, so that's 1, 2, and 3. I am going to let you do 4, 5, and 6, and then that is that. I actually want to show you the answers quickly to the symmetry questions, so that you can have the official answers. So basically, over here, they are all, so you draw the signs, and they are actually all symmetrical. Yeah, and then that's up to your name. And then symmetrical shapes, the ones that are actually symmetrical are 3.2 and 3.3. And over here, this is what your drawing should look like. So when you've cut it out and pasted it in and folded it and all that kind of stuff, your drawing should look like this. Okay, that is what you should have in your book. Alright, And then the last section that we need to do is enlargements and reductions. And then we are done with this section. Woohoo! So, pretty much what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pause it now. And I want you to please do number 4, 5, and 6. Let's stop it there so that you guys can actually see what it is. Okay, so if you've done 4, 5, and 6, this is what your answer should be. Alright, so there's 4, 5, and 6. Okay, just make sure that your blocks are correct. So it's 3 blocks down, then you've got your colored in block. Same thing here, and it goes okay. Same thing here, 1 block in between, and it's kind of just flipped upside down. It almost looks like an H. And then this one looks kind of like a person sitting on a chair or trying to poop on the toilet. Okay, and then yeah, so that is your answer. And that is all that we are pretty much going to be covering. Remember, if we are moving to, we've done lines of symmetry, we're moving to enlargements and reductions. Remember, enlarge is to make something bigger, reduction is to make something smaller. So I just want you to quickly do this revision exercise for me. It says, look at the following shapes. Which shape is the biggest? Okay, I would say it's a triangle. I would say it's A. Okay, and then you need to say which shape is the smallest, which is B. Oh no, it's not. It could be. D could also be big, but because the triangle looks huge, I would have said that. But the square is covering more space, so I would say that D is actually the biggest. Okay, and then which shape is the smallest? B. That's just a bit easier. Which 2 shapes are the same shape but different size? Okay, that's a bit obvious. So in enlarging shapes, you're just making it bigger, but remember it all comes along with ratio, so please don't forget that. So when you're making something bigger, you just need to remember that if you're making it bigger on the one side, so if you're making it bigger this way, you need to make it bigger that way. So if you are increasing it by 2 more blocks, you need to add 2 blocks there and 2 blocks there, and then cover the extra length that is missing. Okay, the same thing as if you are reducing, so you're making something smaller. I am going to ask you to please summarize. Okay, this is your homework pretty much. So to summarize enlarging shapes with the worked examples, how to do it, and the reducing shapes. So you're going to summarize that for me and learn how to reduce it in the worked example. So that is your work for you to do, and on Friday we will do exercise 1 and 2. Okay, so if you do not finish this, then we will continue on Friday, but I am not giving you the whole lesson to do that. If anything, I will let you reduce the shape. I will let you do reducing shapes summaries. And yeah, that is pretty much that. And this is quite a little helpful tool at the bottom. It tells you that if you want the shape, the proportion has to be the same. And if you are enlarging, you're multiplying. If you are making it smaller, reducing it, you are dividing by the same number, obviously. Okay, and that is that. I'm not going to let you do the consolidation, but if you test me, I shall. Okay, otherwise that is that, and with the next section next week.